I'm Virginia Horsman, and I was born in Texas in a little town, Wellington, Texas, in the Panhandle, up about 100 miles from Amarillo. My father's family had moved there in the 1880s because my great-grandfather had tuberculosis, and he'd come to Texas from Tennessee hoping the weather would cure him. They lived in Dallas for a while, and then he needed to go further west, so he came out and bought a section of land in Texas and moved his family out there. Uh, my father's family, my father had 7 brothers and sisters who all grew up and lived in Wellington, so I grew up with a lot of Glenn relatives located around me. My grandfather bought lots of land, so he gave each one of his children a farm when they got married or when they grew up. So they all lived around Wellington for a while. And I remember fondly lots of uncles and aunts that were there. I was always very close to my father, though he was a man who didn't talk to me as much as Paul talks to his children, which I really enjoy hearing.
Good.
Usually, I don't remember him ever saying no, and I don't remember him ever punishing me, but he could hold up his finger in front of me sometimes, which means, stop what you're doing. And it was very forceful. My father and mother had met in college. When my father grew up, each of his brothers and sisters went to Clarendon College, which was not too far from where they grew up. And he and my mother met there and married a few years after they met. They were very close. I don't remember ever seeing them sitting down close together that my father's arm wasn't around her shoulders, in church, in the car, wherever they were. And they had their running jokes about things, their arguments about the everything, which were long discussions. I think that his relationship with my mother was much closer than his relationship with the children, but he was the one that wanted a large family. After I was born, his parents had decided, his mother had decided that it really wasn't very nice to have so many children, so she was very disapproving of any later children born in the family.
Oh, after you were born? Is that what you said?
After I was born, I'm sure, and the same disapproval may have met me too. I don't remember. I didn't have really close relationship with that grandmother, though I visited her every summer. She had moved to Amarillo by the time I was growing up, and always had a daughter living with her. She had not wanted her daughters to marry. She wanted them to stay and live with her. And one always did live with her. The other, my uncles, I guess my father decided to farm. Another uncle decided to had a sheep farm, sheep ranch. One opened the first bank in Wellington, the First National Bank. All of those children were school teachers at some time or another. One aunt was in the first, all of them went to college. One aunt was in the first graduating class at SMU and was working on her master's at Colorado University when she got married. And I was close to all of those aunts. I liked to spend time with them. my mother's family lived also in a little town close by, and we visited them at least once a month. My mother, her name was Ryan, and her family definitely had an Irish background. I guess I grew up listening to the grandmother and mother and her sisters all talking what I later learned to be mostly nonsense about what their probable heritage was,
Oh,
and where they didn't really know where the Ryans had come from except Ireland. They had come through Kentucky and on to Texas, but they didn't have a clear picture of their.
you said the name is O'Ryan?
It was just Ryan.
Oh, the last name is Ryan?
Uh-huh.
Is that where Ryan gets her name from?
I guess it is. I suppose it is. I don't
Yeah.
really.
So
No.
Ryan is the last
But
name.
they were very warm, imaginative people who really enjoyed spending an afternoon just chatting about family uh, and were always entertaining to be around. They lived in a little town called Memphis, Texas, which was separated from Wellington by a lot of hills. And I remember going over there almost every time with Mother driving, and you'd have to get up a speed as fast as the car would go up one hill in order to go down real fast and come up the next hill and get to the top. Sometimes we didn't make the top, and she'd have to back up clear to the back of the preceding hill and get another running jump at it to get over the next hill.
Oh, wow.
But my mother was a very spirited, active woman, particularly in the family. I expect with other people, my father and mother were both somewhat shy, although they were very active in the organizations around Wellington, particularly the church and the schools.
Was that the Methodist church?
They were Methodists.
Okay.
Is that
that's
what
I
you
thought.
asked me?
Yes.
Uh-huh. They
So-
were members of the Methodist church.
Okay.
My father was usually on the board of stewards and on the school board.
Okay.
My mother all made a cake or cooked a turkey for everything that ever happened in Wellington, I think.
That's
We
great.
lived 2 miles outside of town, but we participated in all of Wellington activities. I grew up mostly following my older brothers and sisters wherever they were going or whatever they were doing. And though my brothers tried to run off and leave me as often as they could, mostly I stayed within sight of them anyway and climbed on everything that they did. I remember growing up fondly. I had a good childhood.
That's good.